Hi everybody, welcome back to Library Says. My name is Jamie and today we are going to kick off my very first attempt at a video series. If you read the title for this video, you know it is hashtag no shame romance wrecks Beauty and the Beast edition. So what in the world is a hashtag no shame romance wreck? Well, I have been a romance reader for my entire life, like since middle school. I've been reading romance novels, but it's something I didn't talk about. You didn't talk about reading romance novels. You could talk about fantasy, you could talk about literary fiction, you could talk about sci-fi, you could talk about whatever you wanted as long as it wasn't romance because, you read romance? Yes, I do, and I'm very proud of it. And as I've grown up, I've realized I have no shame about what I read what I like, and I know there are people out there, thanks to BookTube, who enjoy the same sorts of things I enjoy. You like what you like, and you shouldn't have any shame about it, and I don't either. So if you like what I like, or you're interested in hearing what I like, this is the place. Now, I have looked high and low for very specific book recommendations, and I thought you might also have similar interests in your romance novels, and if that's the case, you've come to the right place, because each video in this series is going to pick something that I really love, something that maybe you can't even describe. Some of them are going to be more general, some of them are going to be really specific elements to romance novels that I really enjoy, and some will be vague, some will be really obvious that they fit under this theme. But this first one is Beauty and the Beast, and I'm going to recommend 7 books to you that fit that something that I love about the Beauty and the Beast story. For each of the books that I include on this list, I'm going to tell you its title, author, and a very brief summary of the book, just enough to kind of intrigue you maybe so that you go look it up on Goodreads. Then I'm going to tell you why I love it as a Beauty and the Beast related romance. And then I'm going to tell you its steam level, 1 to 5 flame emojis. I think that's what we're gonna do, because these are romance novels. What else are we doing here? So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started, and the first book on my list is When Beauty Tamed the Beast by Eloisa James. This is, of course, a very obvious Beauty and the Beast retelling. It is a historical romance about a woman named Lynette who is ruined by the Ton when she wears a gown that makes her look pregnant, and everyone assumes it's the prince's baby. It's not, she's not, but it doesn't matter. Her only hope to regain her honor is to marry a duke, and there is a duke available, but he's a bit of a grouch and a hermit. The Duke's name is Pierce. Eloisa James has acknowledged that she based him off of House, the doctor. If you've watched House, you know what I'm talking about. He has a leg injury, he's in pain all the time, and he's very, very grumpy. So basically, Lynette moves in with Pierce. Pierce's injury also supposedly left him impotent, and he needs an heir. As far as he knows, Lynette's pregnant with a bastard child. Pierce can't have an heir of his own, so they get married to sort of help each other out. Of course, there is no baby on the way, which will obviously come into play later. Why do I love it? Obviously, there are very strong allusions to the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale with Pierce physically and emotionally. He's a very angry dude. But the best part of this is that Lynette can dish it out and she can take it as good, if not better, than Pierce. And their dynamic, their back and forth, how witty and snappy they are with each other. There's also a swimming pool scene that is top notch. As far as steam level goes, I'm gonna give this one 4 out of 5 flames. The second book on my list is Lover Awakened by J.R. Ward. This is the third book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. It is vampire romance, and it is easily my favorite of the series. There are like 20 books in the series now, and I recommend you read all of them. If you're gonna read this, I would highly recommend you start at the beginning and read your way through, but you don't have to. I will preface this by saying you don't have to. You could just pick up Lover Awakened and you will enjoy it, but there is some build-up for the couple in this book in the previous novels that just add to the experience. Lover Awakened is about Sadist. He's one of the brothers in the Black Dagger Brotherhood. He's basically a vampire soldier fighting the enemy force that basically exists just to take down the vampires. Bella is also a vampire. She comes from a wealthy, aristocratic vampire family. There are expectations of her and expectations that she is with the right kind of guy. Sadist is not that guy. He is physically scarred. He's the survivor of literally hundreds of years of slavery. He was a blood and sex slave for much of his life. Vampires live a long, long, long time in this canon. So go in knowing that there are plenty of trigger warnings. There's trauma. Sadist is a very well-developed character, and his responses to the things he's been through are gut-wrenching. But what is so wonderful about this and why I love it, why it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling more than just it's obvious like she's beautiful and he's not, is that he is so guarded and feels so unlovable. Bella really has to work hard to break through his exterior. It is something to behold. This couple has some on fire chemistry. And every scene that they are in together, I've probably reread 100 times. Just reread and reread and reread. And I highly recommend you do the same. Steam level, I'm gonna give this one 5 out of 5 flames. The third book on my list is Simply Loved by Mary Ballow. This is a historical romance about Anne and Sydenham, who are both internally very scarred and dealing with terrible trauma. Externally, only Sid has a representation of his internal trauma. So Anne was the victim of sexual assault and is now a single mother as a result of that assault. And despite this being Regency era, she has been fortunate in that she has made friends with a woman who owns a school for girls. And so she has been able to teach at that school and raise her son there. So she's been able to provide for herself and her son in an era where that isn't anything to sneeze at. Sid fought in the Napoleonic Wars and came home having lost an arm and an eye, and his face is scarred. This would be a struggle for anyone, but Sid was an artist before he left for the war, and he lost his dominant hand and now acts as a steward on a grand estate. Anne is invited to stay at this estate with her son by a long-term friend of hers over the summer, and that's how the two of them meet. I love this, and this is Beauty and the Beast, because obviously Sid externally is scarred, but my favorite part of this is that they both have trauma, and though you can't see Anne's from the outside, they both have to help each other, and they both grow, and they both have setbacks. Their love is inspiring. I've reread this one so many times. It's sweet and it's gentle. It makes me cry. Highly recommended. Steam level, I'd say it is slightly lower down on the list as far as like juicy content. It's more about their romance and them falling in love. So I'm gonna give this one 2.5 out of 5 flames. Book 4 on my list is Radiance by Grace Draven. I don't think enough people have read this book. If you're into fantasy or romantic fantasy at all, definitely check this one out. This book's about Ildiko, who by all human standards is a beautiful woman. However, she has been arranged to marry Brishan, who is a member of the Kai, and he is not human. The Kai have gray skin, they have yellow eyes, they have claws. They're both low-ranking members of their respective royal families, so they're basically set up to be married for political reasons and then kind of left alone. They're not important, they're not going to inherit the throne. Just get married, Ildiko will move in with Brishan, we'll just move on with our lives. The best part of this whole thing is how hideous they find each other. I'm gonna read aloud to you from this book. Hold on. You find me ugly, don't you? Hideous. A hag of a woman. And you? You don't think me a handsome man? Had you crawled out from under my bed when I was a child, I would have bludgeoned you to death with my father's mace. A match made in heaven. They, from the beginning, do not get along. They do not find each other attractive, but they're married. What are we gonna do about it? It is fantastic. I'm not even gonna tell you anything else. Just go read it. And Steam level, I'd give this one a 4 out of 5 flames. Book 5 on my list is Beautiful Wreck by Larissa Brown. This is an independently published novel. I don't know anybody else who has read it, and that is devastating to me. This is one of those books that I couldn't put down. I ended up reading, laying on my parents' back porch late at night. It's like pitch black outside, and I can't make myself go inside. So I'm like reading with the light of my phone. Can't put it down. And then when I finally did finish hours later, and I'm like looking around, I felt like I was drunk. Just like I was coming out of a coma because it had been so absorbing the whole time I read it. So what's this about? Beautiful Wreck is a light sci-fi meets historical romance. Jin lives in a future Earth where the world is bleak. We rely exclusively on technology for every part of our lives. There's no green, there's no grass, there's no Earth left. She works for a company that does simulated entertainment, and she is testing one of these essentially virtual reality experiments with a coworker where they're watching an old-fashioned boxing match, and she starts getting flickers of a different image, and this happens repeatedly, and then the last time it happens, it knocks her unconscious. She wakes up in the ocean drowning. She's rescued. Long story short, she finds herself in 11th century Iceland, and she has been rescued by Vikings, and she meets Hyrik, their proud leader. Hyrik was cursed as a baby. He has a mark on his face that his people consider a bad omen. If he has any children, they will be evil, that he should never marry, that he could bring death to all of them. But they're all too afraid of him to overthrow him, so he is still their leader. But like I said, he's never supposed to get married, never supposed to have babies, because he would further spread this curse. That doesn't bother Jin so much because she doesn't believe in curses. Why do I love this book, and why is it Beauty and the Beast? Obviously, Hyrik is the beast in this scenario, and Jin is the beauty. But the thing I love about this is Jin is a spitfire. She is stubborn, and she is strong, and she's put in a circumstance that is concerning, maybe, but the slow burn in the skies will torture you. It will chew you up and spit you out. If you're a slow burn fan, I don't know that I've ever read a slow burn. Don't think you're gonna jump into this and they're gonna be like madly in love and jumping into bed in the second chapter. That's not how this goes. This will take the entire book, and it's a long book, but every moment, I just died. I just died for them. Steam level, I am gonna go with 3.5 out of 5 flames. Like I said, it's a slow burn, so there's not a lot of action, but the sexual chemistry and the unresolved sexual tension is just, it'll make you die. Next up is Hard Hitter by Serena Bowen. This is the second book in the Brooklyn Bruisers series, which are hockey romances. You do not have to read the rest of the series, and you do not have to be a hockey fan to enjoy these, though I have read the whole series many times, and I am a hockey fan in my real life. But this book follows Patrick O'Doul, who is the Brooklyn Bruisers enforcer. So if you don't know anything about hockey, just about every team has an enforcer, which is like their muscle, the guy who does the fighting. He's kind of like the bouncer for the team, and Patrick is that guy. However, he is exhausted, especially because he is really feeling it now. He has hip pain and back pain, but he doesn't want to tell his coaches, and he doesn't want to tell teammates because he doesn't want to lose his valuable place on the team. The other half of this romance is Ari Bettini. She's the massage therapist for the team. Now, is it likely in real life that a hockey team would have a female massage therapist? Probably not. I don't care. I don't care. So she leads the team in yoga, and she's the one who has to set up appointments with Patrick to try and work on his injuries so he continues to be able to play. But he is quite the reluctant patient. Ari has her own past she's dealing with. She has an ex-boyfriend who's a complete scumbag who comes into play and maybe isn't the safest guy to be in her life. And she has to convince Patrick that she even needs to be there. Meanwhile, they're battling some intense sexual chemistry. If you're not a sports romance person, if you're not a hockey person, I don't care. If you're a Beauty and the Beast lover, at its core, you like that dynamic, I would still highly recommend this one. Steam level, I'm gonna give this one 4.5 out of 5 flames. The final book on my list is Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. Tessa Dare has an entire series of sort of fairy tale inspired romances, but this is easily my favorite of the series. This book follows Izzy Goodnight, who was the inspiration for her father's fairy tales and bedtime stories, but at 26 is an impoverished old maid. Now that her father is dead, she's destitute, she's homeless. What in the world is she gonna do for herself? But when her godfather passes away, in his will, he leaves her a castle, which is perfect. So she decides to go live in the castle. Only problem is it already has an inhabitant. Ransom is a hermit. He's blind and he's moody and he doesn't want to go anywhere. And he also doesn't want to share his castle with Izzy. Their dynamic is hate to love initially. They are so witty, and this book is hilarious, like literally laugh out loud funny. Highly recommend you pick this one up if you like this Beauty and the Beast dynamic, the hate to love dynamic, the more than meets the eye dynamic, the forced to cohabitate trope. Obviously in here as well. The book is so sweet and so romantic and so funny, and I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5 flames. So that's it. That's my very first attempt at a hashtag no shame romance Rex. No shame here. If you love Beauty and the Beast or think you might be interested in that sort of dynamic in your romance novels, hopefully something on this list spoke to you. If you do check out any of my recommendations, please let me know what you thought. I can't wait to hear about it. As always, my links to Goodreads and Twitter are down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!